Hello there, Pony, and welcome to PAGIE Time, the series where you pick the topics and I talk about them. 2 weeks ago, I did a Q&A, and I'd just like to thank you all so much for your questions for my 20th episode special. I know that I've already done an episode on how to help your friends with mental disorders, but I've received quite a lot of messages from people asking how they know if they have a mental disorder. So if you have any tips for what you should do if you think you have a mental disorder like anxiety or depression, be sure to comment that down below because that's what we'll be talking about. Anyways, in this episode, I will be helping you guys with how to create your own web series. So let's get started. Now, I've already seen quite a few videos like this on YouTube, so I'm just going to skip over the main points that you guys already know. You know, not to use cliche characters like in LPS series, don't use cats and dogs always, and don't always use Twilight as a good character and Trixie as a bad in My Little Pony series. Don't be cliche, don't do high school series, you know, that sort of stuff. But you know, even the most cliche idea can be made interesting and original. How do you do this, you ask? Well, it's all about the characters. We've seen the same characters over and over again, whether it's the new girl going to school, the popular girl who's always her rival, the jock boyfriend, or the nerdy person who ends up being a big character. Yes, these characters are overdone, cliche, and frankly quite boring, but their biggest flaw is that they lack actual character depth. For a character to be interesting, they must be relatable to the audience. And for a character to be relatable, they must have a complex character. Now, when people hear complex backstory, most of the time they think dark, sad, tragic life, but don't always use that. Your character doesn't have to have lost both of their parents to cancer, or their little brother to a car crash, or maybe their ex-boyfriend abused them for them to be interesting. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make your characters interesting without them being cheesy. Let's start by developing a character that will appear in one of my future series, which will come this summer. You know her, you love her, it's Misty. Yes, Misty is the cliche short-haired cat main character. And yes, she's also the cat that people often use to represent someone who's had a tragic backstory. But we can make her interesting. What do we already know about Misty? Well, she's a lesbian, her girlfriend's name is Marina, she's the more adventurous of the two, but she's also very shy. Boring! To make your characters interesting, they need to have little quirks or flaws, just little things that make them seem more human. You can do this by looking at the little random characteristics about yourself. For example, I'm hyperextended in my thumb, I am super shy, but I will go on literally any roller coaster. And even though I love music, I can't play an instrument or keep a tune to save my life. Do that to your characters. Let's say that Misty loves succulents and keeps them all around her house, but she has pretty much a black thumb. All her plants die. Boom, there's something. We can relate to it. I'm sure many of us, including me, have tried to keep houseplants and were annoyed that they kept on dying. And it also adds depth to the settings because whenever we see your house, we can see random dying plants in the background. Okay, pretty easy, right? Let's try a different character. This is Lainey, your average, typical new student at high school. But what if Lainey loves sci-fi novels? And she can write poetry, but whenever she writes romantic poetry, it sucks. For every good trait that your character has, they should also have a flaw. For example, me. People always say that I'm great with helping them with their problems, but I cannot feel empathy at all. When people get sad, I don't know how to connect with them. When you add flaws and other random traits to your characters, you're able to see them more as actual humans who do everyday things. And that can make even the most boring, cliche character into someone really interesting that people will love to watch. Hey, I saw you reading Area 51 earlier. Did you like it? When I look into your eyes, I see my soul. It fills the hole in my heart. Okay, now we get to something a little bit more difficult to grasp. Earth is filled with tons of people who are different in many different ways. So it makes sense that your series would be diverse as well. For example, this is Rachel. One day, Rachel was texting her friend while crossing the street, and a car ran over her. Now she's paralyzed from the waist down and rides in a wheelchair. Diversity can sometimes be a difficult thing when you're making a series that's made with plastic toys. But it's all worth it, because can you imagine someone who's in a wheelchair watching a series and then seeing someone else in a wheelchair just like them? It's a pretty good feeling. But here's how not to do it the wrong way. I once read a quote about writing that went something like this. When you're writing a story, or in this case a series, and your character has a disability or disorder that you don't have, you cannot make their sole purpose in the series their condition. This is sort of like how a lot of times whenever you see gay people in the media or in TV shows, they're only there either for the fact that their gayness is a big part of the plot, or just for the shock factor. That's why, no matter how much hate I get, I will never remove Misty and Marina from my channel, because they don't have a reason for being gay, and that's exactly why they're there. So, when I make a series with Rachel in it, I can't make her only purpose being how she struggles with being in a wheelchair. She needs to be a character with depth and personality who goes through some sort of a change, just like everybody else, and that change can't be focused on how she's in a wheelchair. The same goes for mental disorders like depression. There are huge stereotypes about how people with depression act, and I can tell you from experience, most of the time they're not true. This doesn't mean that you can't include characters with depression. In fact, I want you to. It's great. But don't make their entire series be, oh, I'm so sad. I need a boy to cure me. Oh, the pain. Yes, some people with depression are like that, but many aren't. The way that I experience depression is way different than maybe you or someone else does. So you can't just generalize an entire group of people with your stereotype. If you're going to make a series that focuses around someone's condition, make sure to do your research. Talk to people who actually have that condition, look online of actual symptoms and stories, use people's real life experience, and most importantly, don't stereotype. And please, I beg you, please don't make your entire series plot the character finding a cure for whatever condition they have. So just a quick recap of the episode. Make your characters quirky, with personality traits and flaws just like everyone else. And be diverse, but don't represent people wrong. And in case I missed anything, because I really only focused on characters in this episode, here's a few comments from other YouTubers about how they think you guys could make your series better. When making a web series, you really have a great opportunity to get a message out there. Your characters are reflections of real people, us. Once you've got that down, the rest of the series is pretty easy. In fact, I've made a bunch of other episodes about PAGIE Time that can help you. So check down in the description below for some more episodes on scripting, set making, and other things like that. And thank you for watching this episode of PAGIE Time. Don't forget to comment down more tips for what to do if you think you have a mental disorder. Bye!